Welcome to Cancer season, you guys. This weekend, we're moving into Cancer. My name is Tamara, and my goal is to make astrology something that you easily understand because I think it is a helpful tool that each of us can use to improve ourselves, improve our relationships, improve our lives, and improve the world. Please subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Today is the first day of Mercury Retrograde. Officially, we are in it. Whew. In the sign of Cancer. This weekend we have the sun moving into Cancer, and on the same day, so that'll be the 21st of June, we have the summer solstice, so the longest day of the year, and the same day the moon will also be in the sign of Cancer, and it will be new, which means it'll be dark. But this means that we have some really powerful Cancer energy coming in. We're already in it. We got Mercury. Mercury's powerful enough, especially when it's in retrograde, because we all feel it. But I want to make this video particularly about everything there is to know about Cancer, whether it's in your own personal birth chart, or it's someone you know, it's a relationship you're dealing with right now, or you just want a better understanding of what it means to be in Cancer season. This video is going to tell you everything. I'm going to start with all the basics of Cancer first, so like what it means in astrology, in Zodiac, the traits, all of that stuff, where to look for it in your birth chart and what that means for you. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about that Cancer energy that's going on in the world right now. So I'll put timestamps in the description if you want to skip to any particular part, but let's get started. The best way for me to explain Cancer is to give you a little bit of background of its entire formation, basically, like in the Zodiac breakdown. So when we look at a sign, we have a few parts to it. We have the element, modality, the polarity, and we have the orientation. That might be confusing. Don't worry, I'm going to explain all of it in a simple way. I have been doing a lot of my studying from a workbook, which I will link below, which you can order from Amazon. I find it very helpful. The element is sort of going to describe the sign's temperance, okay? So water is all about the emotional feeling. The soul would be our water. The element of water gets its motivation from within and everything that comes from the subconscious. Having the element of water in our birth charts allows us to feel and navigate using our emotions, because sometimes that is helpful, right? Like following your gut or using your intuition. So the next thing is the polarity. Polarity is basically like a plus or a minus, right? Like if it was a battery charge, you have a positive charge and a negative charge. Everything in space, everything in our world is balanced. You have to have yin and yang. And in astrology, yin is the negative or the feminine, and those are earth and water signs. So in this case, Cancer is yin. And yang would be fire or air. And so if we're talking about charge, yin, the feminine, is a magnetic charge. It's inward pulling. So you pull in all your resources and then you collect them and use them for yourself, kind of like an introvert. An introvert recharges by being alone. That's that same energy of what comes from yin. Next up, we have the modality. The modality is going to describe the 3 different phases of like a cycle, right? You have like beginning, middle, and end of any cycle. Cancer is in the first 4 signs. It's the first water element of the modality, so guess what? It's in the first phase. And that phase is called cardinal in astrology. Cardinal is the starter. It's the beginning of the phase. It gets the spark going. It initiates. It begins things. And lastly, we have the orientation. And you have 3 different orientations in astrology. The first orientation is personal, and that's because it is the first 4 signs of the zodiac wheel, and Cancer is the 4th. When a sign has a personal orientation, it means that it is focused on its personal needs first. Their basic needs like shelter, protection, safety, food, water, nutrients, all that stuff. So if you put all those things together, you can get a pretty good idea of what Cancer is in general. So you could say the sign of Cancer initiates emotional and soul action. We're going to go a little bit more in depth, and we're going to talk about how Cancer is ruled by the moon. Just as the sun is our like masculine energy, our essence, the moon is our feminine, right? The moon rules over the mother, And that is exactly how Cancer is this like motherly sign. The moon controls our innermost emotions, our subconscious. It's like our unthought of habits. It's the way we feel about things. It rules over the 4th house, which is the private life, the home, your family. Legit, Cancer is mom. If you want to put it simply, Cancer is mom energy. It is maternal, it is protective, it is nurturing, and it's that way because it's ruled by the moon. Now we're going to get into the qualities, the traits of Cancer. I'm sure now you have a really good idea if you know anything about the moon or mother energy, like what moms are like. You can pretty much figure out what Cancer energy is like. But there are positive and negative traits. There's always a skillful application and an unskillful application. And usually, I think astrology gets a little bit of a bad rap because a lot of times when people list off, you're a Cancer, they'll do a lot of the unskillful application because maybe that resonates with people more. But then it doesn't make people feel necessarily good about themselves. And they don't feel proud about the sign that they have in their birth chart. And the great thing about astrology is that it can teach us that when we're showing something that is unskillful or like negative, we can use that to realize that we've been triggered by something and choose the skillful application instead. That's how we self-improve. That's how we grow, right? We're not going to change completely as people. We're not going to change the signs in our birth chart. But we can grow and use the more skillful applications of our sign. So some skillful traits of Cancer. Think of the loving mother, okay? It's sensitive, it's emotional, it is feeling, it is nurturing. Cancers are protective. They want to care and provide for others. They are warm. They are loving. They are intuitive because of the moon, right? So they're they can be psychic, or they can just know something's going to happen, right? That like maternal instinct. They are in touch with their emotions. It's good to be feeling and to feel things out. They can also be shy and a little bit collecting, right? That's that yin energy, like pulling things inward and collecting it so that they can get everything that they need, and if they're providing, give it to others. They are vulnerable. They are sympathetic, compassionate. These are the great traits of Cancer. And if you think of any really loving mother, that's that energy. So that's like really, I think this is a really easy sign to understand. Even though the moon is quite complex, but you get it. Like just think mother energy, you get Cancer, okay? Now the unskillful applications, like these are the negative traits, and you might see this in a Cancer who is being triggered, or in your own life, because we all have some Cancer placement somewhere, right, in some area of our life. Learn these traits really well, because when you notice them or you see them, they're usually a good indicator that something is not right and something needs to get fixed. Like it can show you that maybe you're hurting inside, the way you're acting. If you portray the negative traits of your sign, it's a good indicator that something needs to be worked out. If you're moody, something is going on, and we can choose the skillful application. I hope that makes sense to you. So let's talk about the negative traits of Cancer. Negative traits of Cancer are gonna be, I said it already, moodiness, over emotional, right? Like the scale's too far. There's one thing with being in touch with your emotions, another thing on being like an emotional roller coaster. More negative traits would be withdrawn, right? Like a Cancer can withdraw into its shell, won't show any emotion, will just like shut down. You can be fearful or stuck in the past, afraid to let go, too dependent on others rather than like that healthy care provider. Maybe they'll be dependent on other people. Hypersensitive, maybe overbearing, right? Let's think about the nurturing mother, and let's think about the, what's that? Mommy dearest, right? Controlling, overbearing, clingy, all of these, like smothering. These are also the negative traits. So just think of this like loving mother, and then think of this mother who's like off the deep end. Cancer's core need is to give and receive emotional warmth and security. This is really important to remember when in any kind of relationship with a Cancer, because this is how you can see if something is going on. If this core need to give and receive emotional warmth and security is not met, then you will start to see these unskillful applications, right? But if you're in a relationship with a Cancer, or you are a Cancer and your relationship is going well, you're gonna see this loving, emotionally happy and secure individual. And then when you see that there's like some insecurity or moodiness, or someone is being too touchy or brooding, that's a trigger to show you that that core need is not being met. So let's think about where Cancer is in your birth chart, because we all have Cancer somewhere in our birth chart. Whether or not we have a planet in the sign of Cancer, there is a house placement, and there are 12 houses, and they each represent an area of our life. We have a system that I like to use called what, how, and where. The planet is the what. I'll use me as an example. I have Mars in Cancer. So what is Mars? Mars is how you assert yourself. It's how you go out and get the things you want, right? It's like that little warrior. He's ready to go out, conquer, and get what's his. It rules over like how we fight. It rules over our sex lives, right? Because that's part of conquering in a way. So the what is how I assert myself, my power, how I get what I want. The how is Cancer. So I get what I want by following my emotional instincts. It depends on the situation, but I might be a little bit more passive, or maybe I'll get what I want by being caring and supportive, right? Because empathy works too, you know, being nice to others, you can get things for yourself. Being vulnerable and open, things can open up to you when you're open and vulnerable. The times when I fight for something, I might be fighting for others, right? That like motherly protective nature, that is how I go about something. So I might only fight people when I feel like I'm standing up or protecting my loved ones, and that is definitely true about me. You won't really see me get that upset unless I am feeling like you've wronged somebody else and somebody that I love. Like, I will fight for that person. On the flip side, what happens if maybe I'm not able to assert myself, right? Like my Mars is being blocked, okay? I am unable to get what I want. You might see me shut down. I might withdraw, right? That's an unskillful application of Cancer, and I do that. I recognize that. I might be defensive or overly emotional. Like it might seem like an irrational reaction, but that's because the sign that my Mars is in is Cancer. And then the last thing you would look at is the where. So that's the house placement. This is where in your life this happens, okay? So when I was born, Mars was in Cancer in my second house. And the second house rules over the relationship to materials. It's my personal resources, it's my income, it's my spending habits and my earning habits. So this is the area of my life which I act as a Cancer. This is where I manage my life in a Cancer nature. So it means that I like to pull in all my resources. I like to save my money. It's true, I do. And I like to spend it on others. I like to use my money and my resources to care for other people. I also nurture my possessions. I'm also a Taurus, so I do have these like weird attachments to material things. But now I kind of realize that that might be also a Cancer thing as well. I nurture my prized possessions as if they're my babies. And that's just because I'm a Cancer in the second house. I feel attached to money in a way. I might be afraid to let it go. I might be fearful of losing it. That gives you a really good idea of these areas of your life and how you are with things by looking closer and understanding the what, how, and where. So I want you to look at your birth chart. I want this video to be helpful for you to understand something new about yourself. If you have a question, please let me know in the comments. You can look up your birth chart on several different websites. I will link a few below in the description as well, if you haven't done that before and you don't know. It'll also show you where the house placements are. So if you're a little bit confused on what a house placement is, you will see it in the chart. There's a wheel and you look where the sun is and you will see exactly which house placement it is in. So if you have questions about that, let me know. I'm moving on now to the Cancer energy, that global energy that we're getting with these transits, such as the sun moving into Cancer season. So Cancer season is from June 21st until July 21st. Ooh, 21 to 21. That's a good number, I think. need to see what 21 is, but I'm sure it's angelic, I'm sure it's magical. I just did a video about the sun, so everything that the sun represents, and also using it to find your life's purpose. If you want to know more about what the sun does, I will link that in the description below, or maybe I'll make a little tag thing pop up here. I'm trying to figure out how to use YouTube. But the sun essentially is our vitality, it's our life force, it's our energy and our purpose, and it's also our essence. So our global essence, our global vitality and life purpose is moving into the sign of Cancer. So this emotional water sign, this sympathetic, caring, and compassionate energy. So on good days, people are going to be feeling more motivated to be in touch with their emotions and to be more sensitive and to be more nurturing and caring to others. But on low days or bad days, you might see people being moody. You might see people overreacting or coming off all insecure or overprotective or clingy. That's just an indicator that something is going on, that they're not feeling great. So channel that energy coming in from the sun right now and use it to just come from a place of compassion. Just like be your own mother, and when you can, be a mother to someone else, be nurturing, okay? Because there will be frustrations in the next month. We are going through some major retrogrades. Pluto's in retrograde, Saturn's in retrograde, Jupiter's in retrograde. We are finishing Venus retrograde. There's a lot of conflict, frustrations. Saturn is putting limitations on us, which are very frustrating and can make us feel really blocked. And Pluto is sort of like this destructive thing to give us deeper, meaningful experiences. So we will have moments where we're feeling down. So just use these Cancer traits to show you when you're being triggered so that you can make these changes, because retrogrades are all about making changes, okay? Speaking of retrograde, we started Mercury retrograde today, and retrogrades are not that bad, you guys. Retrogrades are a pivotal point for our lives to make these conscious changes. We have these lessons come into our conscious mind so we can take a closer look at them and see why something's not working so that we can make it work by changing something. Mercury retrograde makes technology all wonky, makes our messages become unclear, like media channels and stuff where we normally use to communicate, they stop working, whatever. Those things are going to be there already. But because Mercury is going to retrograde in the sign of Cancer, that's also going to put some strain and create some breakdown of communication and miscommunication in our family, in our private lives, in our very close relationships, or our really dear friends. This is where we might see miscommunications, but those are meant to show us. Those breakdowns are showing us something that's not working. And we can ask ourselves, is my tone being loving and understanding, or is it being defensive? Am I overreacting to this, or can I come from a place of understanding and be a little more sympathetic? Am I talking to myself with enough love and nurturing energy too? Because sometimes we don't nurture ourselves and we are these mean inner critics. So that's another point. We need to look in our lives where we can embody more of this nurturing motherly energy in the way that we communicate. So Mercury wants to teach us a very valuable lesson during this retrograde. Mercury wants us to embody a little bit more Cancer energy, some more Cancer qualities in the way that we think, speak, and communicate with others. And lastly, we have the new moon, and this new moon will be on the same day that the sun moves into Cancer. So this is also on June 21st. The moon will be new, which means that it is completely hidden. It's in full shadow. This is a very, very powerful day because during new moons, we set intentions for the future, right, for the month ahead. But because it is a solar eclipse, these intentions are going to push us for 6 months. This is a big, big deal. And the sun and the moon are both in the sign of Cancer. So what does that mean? That means that we need to look deep within ourselves, right? Because we have moon energy going on. We need to think long and hard about our own emotional security, because Cancer's need, right, is to give and receive emotional warmth and security. So that's the question you're asking yourself during this new moon. Where is it lacking? This new moon is going to offer us a powerful renewal in that area of our life. And then the solar eclipse is not only going to set our intentions out there, but it's also going to help us turn the chapter completely over. So also want to release the old stuff, release what we don't want to carry over with us, release our emotional baggage, release our emotional insecurities. Think about your own need for giving and receiving emotional warmth and security. Set intentions for meeting that need and release everything you want to leave behind you in this new journey. That's it for today. This is a really long video. I hope that each part taught you something very valuable. Whether or not Cancer plays a major role in your life, like whether or not you have a lot of Cancer in your birth chart or you know a lot of Cancers, it will be playing a big role in our global energy. So I thank you for taking the time to learn more about it, to understand it a little bit better, to learn how to embody it, to embrace it, to understand it, to lean into it. Thank you for taking the time with me. It means a lot to me. I am living for your feedback. I am so happy whenever a comment comes through, and I'm really happy to discuss this stuff with you. So don't hesitate, leave a comment. Please also like this video. It makes me feel really good inside. I am a firm believer that the universe makes sure that whoever needs to hear my message will hear it. So if you're at this point still in the video, bless you, the universe needed you to hear this. Give a little thank you to the big you right now and share it with someone else who you feel would really benefit from it. My goal here, you guys, is to make astrology a little bit more understandable, because astrology is a very, very valuable tool, and I want to get that tool in the hands of everybody. I am really happy you dropped by. Thank you again, and see you soon. Stay blessed.